Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
Alright, magandang gabi mga kababayan and welcome to another Immigration Law on Your Side right here on PHLV Radio. Nanggagaling po ako dito sa Las Vegas, si Attorney Diza, nanggagaling po sa San Francisco, California. Mga kaibigan, what do you need to know when you are facing deportation? Yan ang mainit na pag-uusapan natin ngayon. We'll drop it right away because I'm sure you guys are very excited to know kung ano ang dapat gawin pag kayo po ay nasa deportation. It's many people's worst nightmare. You or your loved one receive a notice to appear in removal proceedings and are threatened with deportation. Being placed in deportation proceedings is likely to be a very scary experience for an immigrant, natural. However, being successful in immigration court is not impossible. If you or someone you know is facing deportation, this is a good topic for you. So dyan lamang po kayo mga kaibigan. Joining us tonight is Attorney Flomy Diza, partner at Reeves Immigration Law Group, para po naman bigyan tayo ng guidance on what to do when facing deportation and help us understand the process of getting out of removal or from removal proceedings. Magandang gabi po sa iyo, Attorney Diza, live from San Francisco, California ngayon.
Magandang gabi din, Kuya Johan, at nasa last week na tayo ng September, matalapit na ang Christmas at magandang ating pag-usapan ngayon dahil tungkol to sa mga nasa removal or deportation proceedings. So, alamin natin kung paano po ang process at paano po kayo mailalagay sa removal and how to get out from the removal court.
Yes. Attorney, right at the top of the program, let's tell them paano at ano ang dapat gawin when in that event that you receive that letter. Ano po ang dapat gawin natin ng mga kababayan natin if you are facing itong deportation?
Yes, tama yung nabanggit mo kanina, Kuya Johan, that being placed in removal or deportation proceedings is really a very scary experience kasi lalong-lalo na kung may pamilya po kayo dito sa US, okay na po ang trabaho ninyo, di ba? Matagal na po kayo dito, may mga may mga investment na po kayo sa Amerika at bigla na lang darating yung notice sa inyo. So a lot of people are really get scared, Kuya Johan, nagpapanik sila, hindi nila alam ang kanilang gagawin or sasabihin nila magtatago na lang sila, di ba? So those are not the remedy, to be panic or to be afraid, no? So unang gagawin ninyo is be calm, basahin ninyo kung ano ang dahilan bakit po kayo nilalagay sa removal proceedings. Pangalawa, Kuya Johan, don't do this alone na parang kaya kong gawin to, di ba? Dahil either, alam mo naman ang gagawin mo, well-educated ako, alam ko ang process, alam ko ang gagawin ko. So, that's not really a good idea, right? Kahit sabihin pa natin well-educated po kayo or abogado po kayo sa ibang bansa, or may master degree kayo or PhD, it's not sufficient, right? Just to read and follow the instructions from the internet or just get a legal advice and then do it yourself. So, the second advice that I can give sa mga kababayan natin is that don't do it alone. Right? Hire the best immigration lawyer para po matulungan po kayo because, being placed in removal proceedings, you are practically, being deported or placing you in deportation proceedings at may mga paraan naman, Kuya Johan, para get out from these removal proceedings. So don't do it alone.
Attorney, nasabi niyong don't do it alone. Pwede tayong kumbaga armasan natin ang sarili natin ng mga lawyers or mga advice para we could go through this process. But on the other side naman, who are the ones involved? Nandito ba yung ICE, USCIS? Sino po ba yung mga involved na agencies dito sa deportation proceedings na ito?
Yes, bigyan natin ng konting background, Kuya Johan, ng immigration court dito sa United States. Ang pagkakaalam natin, di ba, pinag-aralan natin when we take the, what do you call this, the naturalization or civic test, or kahit sa nasa school po tayo, grade school probably, or high school. There are 3 branches of government. The same thing sa atin sa Pilipinas. Excuse me, ito yung executive, legislative, and judicial. So alam natin ang judicial branch ay ito yung court, Pero dito sa US, mga kababayan, ang immigration court is under the executive branch, meaning under siya ng presidente. Di ba? Executive branch, legislative is the Congress, and then judicial is the court. So surprisingly, dito sa United States, under po tayo ng Department of Justice. So hindi parang, well, isa yung prosecution, yung ating prosecution, right? Prosecution and judge, isa yan under executive department. So, but ang mga involved dito, mga kababayan, ay number one, kayo po, yun ang mga respondent, people who are placed in removal proceedings. And then pangalawa, yung Department of Homeland Security, right? And the Immigration Custom Enforcement. Sila po yung mga tinatawag natin prosecutors. Sila yung magdi-deport sa inyo. Sila yung government attorneys. And of course, yung immigration judge, which is under the Department of Justice. So tatlo po yung mga involved dito. Right? So, kayo po, ang Department of Homeland Security, under yung ICE, yung Immigration Custom Enforcement, and then yung judge under the Department of Justice.
So mga kaibigan, alam na natin ngayon kung sino yung mga involved, and we've given you the lowdown of what it is, on how to behave, on or kung magpapanik ba tayo or hindi. But we're gonna backtrack now a little bit, Attorney, at ngayon ay medyo para makahinga na ang ating mga kababayan nasa ganitong situation. Let's backtrack a little bit. Attorney, what are the reasons po ba, Attorney, kung bakit ang isa ay nailalagay or they are put in removal proceedings? What could be the reason why they are in such a situation?
Yes, maraming dahilan, mga kababayan, right? If you violate an immigration law, basically, there's a probability that they'll place you in removal proceedings, right? So unang-una, nandito ka dahil, let's say, on a tourist visa, right? And then nag-overstay na po kayo. And then, or nag-file ka ng extension, na-deny yung extension mo, and then place you in removal proceedings. So makakatanggap po kayo later on, pag-usapan natin kung ano matatanggap nyo. Or probably meron kayong application din sa USCIS, halimbawa you file an adjustment of status through marriage or through preference petition, sabi na ninyo, yung naging available na yung visa, it was denied on certain grounds dahil probably of crimes or possibly of misrepresentation, or in a marriage, they don't believe the relationship is legitimate. So they deny the adjustment, and then they can place you in removal proceedings that, either, again, you committed a marriage fraud. Or pwede rin yung nabanggit natin kanina, you committed a crime, Kuya Johan. Kahit mga kababayan natin who are already lawful permanent residents or green card holders, if they commit a very serious crime, there's a probability that they'll be placed in removal proceedings. Right? Or mga falsification of documents, no? Pinag-usapan natin in the past where people falsely claim to be a United States citizen, right? Or they are, yung public charge, hindi gaanong pinapansin ngayon yan, but during President Trump's time, yung mga public charge, pwede rin i-deny ang kanilang green card and they'll be placed in removal proceedings. So those are the basic reason where why people are placed in removal proceedings. There are also situations where, let's say you're a green card holder and you are convicted of a very serious crime, let's say rape or possession of drugs or selling of drugs or domestic violence or any of those deportable offenses that we discussed in our prior episodes, where they place you in prison, no, or jail, and you serve the sentence. For example, 1 year, 20 years, kung anong year pa yan. So after the service of your sentence, pwede ka rin nilang i-place in removal proceedings, di ba? I-turn over kanila upon the service of your sentence. Instead of you getting out from prison, is i-turn over kanila sa ICE. So those are also the possible scenarios where people are placed in removal proceedings.
All right. Okay. So, Attorney, when somebody is on this situation, how are they notified by the agencies? Do they receive a letter? And how long can they respond? Pwede ba silang hindi sumagot? O ano bang, may time pa ba sila para kumontak sa ating mga lawyers?
Yes, people think that when they violate the status, there are people where they get scared, right? Where they thought that they will be arrested, right, and detained, and sent back to their home country right away. I mean, there are situations like that. Depende sa political climate natin, di ba? So there are probability na depende sa manner of entry, Kuya Johan. Kasi kagaya ng mga crewman, for example, wala silang right to a lawyer, right? So let's say na-aresto ka because you committed a crime, let's say domestic violence, may nag-report sa'yo, right? And then tinignan nila sa system, you came in as a crewman and nag-jump ship po kayo, yung mga crewman kasi very limited ang rights. They waive the right to what do you call this, be heard in immigration court unless they claim persecution sa home country nila. Di ba? So pwede silang airport i-remove ka agad. So depende yan. But mostly mga kababayan natin, especially if you have or had a denied application with USCIS, padadalang kayo tinatawag nating notice to appear. Ito yung piece of paper where upon the denial of your application, most likely mga after 30 days, no, yung right to appeal mo nag-expire na or reconsideration nag-expire na, yun na padadalang kayo yung tinatawag na notice to appear. Ito yung sineset out yung mga charges mo, ano yung factual basis mo, and ano yung rights mo and obligation mo. Right? So ipapadala sa iyo what we call truth service, like either registered mail, right, na dapat bumalik sa kanila yon na natanggap mo, right, or tinanggap ng any person over 18 sa nakasambay po ninyo, right? And then pag natanggap niyo yung notice to appear yon, as I said, ano ba yung notice to appear na yun? Ito yung sinasabi nila, itong pangalan mo ba to? Ito ba yung alien number mo? Ano yung violation mo? Sasabihin nila that Juan de la Cruz is a native and citizen of the Philippines who last entered the United States on a tourist visa in December 1 of 2010, right? And you overstayed your visa, and as such, we are placed in removal proceedings because you overstayed your visa. So mga ganun yung charges sa'yo, right? So yun yung tinatawag nating notice to appear, and then you need to show that to your lawyer para malaman kung ano po ang posibleng relief or paraan para makontest kung ano po yung charges sa inyo.
Wow. So dapat pala talagang if you receive such a thing, kailangan aksyonan ka agad. At hindi yung saka na natin, saka na tayo sumagot dito. Pupunta pa ako ng Disneyland. You have to give priority dito sa notice na ito, sa notice to appear. Normally, yung kinatatakutan nga, katulad ng sinabi niyo, attorney, will they be pulled out and brought to jail or something like that?
Unless you have really a very serious crime, Kuya Johan, they can detain you for that violation. Yung tatawag natin na mandatory detention, na hindi ka pwedeng lumabas, di ba? So if you commit a crime, right, upon the charges or conviction, right, turn over po kayo sa ICE, lalong-lalo na kung wala pa kayong status o wala kayong other remedies. So either at that point, if you are going to be detained, importante pa tawag po ninyo ang inyong kamag-anak or kayo mismo to contact an immigration attorney and how to get out from the immigration hold or immigration jail.
Attorney, what are your rights when you are in deportation proceedings? Ano pa yung mga rights natin na kailangan malaman ng mga kababayan natin?
Yes, yun ang kinaganda, Kuya Johan, ng nasa loob ka ng United States, right? You have the right to a hearing. Kahit sabihin mong wala kang status, nag-violate ka ng status, TNT ka pa for a number of years. But even if you commit a crime, you still have given that rights. That's the difference between people seeking admission. If you remember, mga kababayan, let's say you're on a tourist visa, right? Nandun ka pa lang sa airport and you're seeking admission into the US, and they said that, hey, you committed fraud or you violated your status in the past, we will expeditedly remove you. Right? At that point sa airport pa lang, mga kababayan, since you are just seeking admission, wala ka pang rights. I wish that pwedeng tumawag ng abogado, di ba? At defend kayo. At pwede kaming tumakbo dyan kahit anong oras, but unfortunately, mga kababayan, wala kayong rights if you are just seeking admission on a tourist visa. Right? Yun ang difference, Kuya Johan. But once you are inside the United States, kahit ang violation mo lang is 10 days or let's say 1 month or 30 years na overstay na po kayo, you are given that opportunity to be heard, to a hearing. Right? So number 1 yan. Pangalawa, you have the right to an attorney if you can afford one. Of course, I would always tell mga kababayan natin na don't short sell yourselves. I mean, especially if you've been here in the US for a very long period of time, especially if you already established family ties in the United States, you have properties, you have investment, you have children, right? You want to retire here. Don't short sell yourself na, ako na lang gagawa or ito na lang i-hire ko, right? Choose a lawyer that is right for you especially yung specializing in immigration only. I mean, maraming ding mga abogado, maraming mga immigration lawyers who are just practicing immigration. If I were you, hire someone else whose field of expertise is in immigration, kasi mahirap pong ikasalapalan ang inyong status dito sa United States. So that's number two. You have the right to an attorney. And unlike in a criminal cases, pwede ring, kasi sa criminal cases meron kayong tinatawag na free legal representation. Dito sa immigration, Kuya Johan, ang court nagbibigay din naman sila ng free what do you call this, free lawyers, pero hindi lahat, di ba? Hindi lahat na actionan yan. May mga pro bono. There are many immigration firms that renders pro bono. Tignan din ninyo yan, but also look at their capacity to represent you as well, kasi otherwise sa dami din ng nag-avail ng services nila, sometimes na-overlook ang inyong cases. Ang pang-apat, you need to understand, and you have the right to understand the immigration proceedings. Paano ba ang process, di ba? So in-explain din sa yung immigration judge, in-explain sa yung immigration lawyer ninyo, at of course there are many resources online, how to understand the court proceedings.
So, attorney, what happens inside the immigration court? Anong scenario doon?
Yes, may mga mag-appear ka sa immigration court, yung napapanood po natin sa television or sa movies, ganun na ganun po yun, right? So may judge, the difference between appearing before immigration office and immigration judge, magkaiba po yan. Kasi sa immigration office po, administrative process po yan, di ba? Parang nasa kwarto lang, nasa immigration officer po kayo ng kwarto nila, may table po yung officer dyan, and then yung abogado mo or kayo po, nandun lang, parang casual conversation, casual interview, di ba? Parang less stressful, less ang nervous ninyo dahil isang tao lang ang ididil po ninyo. And, of course, hindi gaano stricto ang rules of proceedings. Pero pag nasa immigration po kayo, yun po napapanood natin sa television, di ba? Or sa movies na may mga, may mga abogado, nandun sa harapan yung immigration judge, and then nandun po kayo sa isang side, and then the government attorney who wants to deport you, nandun din sila, right? And then of course there are public, people who can watch the proceedings. But normally, Kuya Johan, yung first hearing, madami yan madaming mga respondents ang tawag dyan, di ba? Siguro mga 10 to 30 people. And then you can just imagine then with their families and their lawyers, so mayroong jump ang courts usually, especially pre-pandemic, at bumabalik na tayo sa ganon. So, yun yung unang appearance po ninyo, right? So you can go there, and usually ang nangyayari dyan is kung may abogado na po kayo, basahin ninyo yung notice to appear. Ano bang sinasabi doon? Are you going to admit? Are you going to admit that you're Juan de la Cruz? Are you going to admit that you entered in December of 2010 on a tourist visa? Sasabihin mo, Your Honor, I didn't enter December 10. I entered November of instead of 2010, 2001. I entered on a H-1B instead of tourist visa. So pwede mong i-correct yon, right? And then you can also deny the charges, or you can admit the allegations and the charges. I admit allegations 2 to 5, right? That overstayed the status or, committed fraud. So but and then at the same time, you designate your country where you want to be removed. Of course, kung Pilipino ka, kung i-refuse mong i-designate yung country of of removal mo, then the court will say, I'm going to order you removed to the Philippines kung magkakaroon ng removal. And then kung ano yung relief mo, sasabihin mo rin, Your Honor, I would like to ask for what do you call this, adjustment of status dahil nag-asawa na po ako ng US citizen, or pwede kong i-renew sa inyo ang aking green card kasi dinala ako ng immigration. So that's when your lawyers would, explain to you the process. Sa initial master calendar hearing, yun ang tawag po doon, you plead to the charges or admit to the allegations and tell the judge your immigration relief. So after that, mga kababayan, the judge will set you what we call individual hearing. Ito po ang mas nakakatakot kasi dun sa master hearing, usually, Kuya Johan, mga 5 to 10 minutes lang ka nandun sa audience, nandun ka sa judge, di ba? So they call your name. So they call you based on your alien number, yung last 4 digits mo, tatawin, and then they'll call you, and then they ask your name, and then they ask you what's your best language, and whether Attorney Diza is your legal representative in this proceedings, what's your best language, mga ganyan. So after that, dun sa individual, and then as I said, mga 5-10 minutes lang po kayo dyan, and then they call other respondents again. Then pangalawa, process, Kuya Johan, is the judge will set you yung marriage or individual or regular hearing. That's when the judge hear your case. Usually yan half day, right? Half day ang inalalaan sa'yo. That's why in most immigration courts, medyo matagal na ang individual hearing. Let's say magkaroon ka ng unang hearing ngayon, ang susunod mo ng hearing, especially in the Bay Area, umabot na ng 3 to 4 years ang hintayin mo bago ka bigyan ng individual hearing. So yun po yung process. Sa individual hearing, of course, you need to be prepared, right? Doon pumapasa ang lawyer nyo, explain sa inyo ano ba ang relief mo, di ba? So, i-deport ka ba? Ano ang chances mong mabigyan ng second chance, right? O mabigyan ng green card ng immigration judge. That's when your lawyer explain to you the process and the chances whether you'll be removed or you have a chance to get your green card.
What are the things, attorney, na dapat i-prepare ng ating mga respondents, ng ating mga kababayan? Are there certain things na dapat, when you talk to the lawyer, na dala-dala mo yung mga records mo, especially if it's been like 20 years. I mean, what should you prepare? Yung mga dokumento, yung mga stamps or whatever, kailangan bang nasa iyo yun, attorney?
Yes, it's really important to keep all your records, right? Especially kung bago yung applications ninyo, the reason why your green card application was denied or your citizenship got denied and why you are in removal proceedings. Now, all the immigration records, meron naman tinatawag na, we pull out your records if you don't have one. Tinatawag natin Freedom of Information Act. Ito yung FOIA. Or if you have a criminal records, we also request you to pull out your criminal records from the FBI, yung Federal Bureau of Investigation, and also from the, if you live in California, yung Department of Justice, whether you live in wherever state you live, kailangan mo request yung Department of Justice records po ninyo, fingerprint record, and we have to compare, kung ano yung charges sa inyo, kung ano yung conviction po ninyo. Charges niyo sa immigration court at ano yung conviction niyo para i-compare natin kung tama ang charges sa inyo na dinalodge ng immigration court. So really important, mga kababayan, to keep all records from the time you applied for visa at the consulate up to the time that you're in proceedings. Dapat meron po kayo niyan. But if not, we can always request from the government, from the court, and from your prior attorneys if you hire our services.
That's amazing. Attorney, ito yung $1,000,000 question. Of course, everyone's hopeful even if they're already in this situation. How can we stop removal or deportation?
That's really a very good question, Kuya Johan. Depende sa relief po ninyo yan, right? And as I said, there are situations where you file for an adjustment, right, of status based on marriage. And then the government denied your application because, you did not, you're not able to prove that your marriage is legitimate. So they denied the immigrant visa petition, yung I-130, and as a consequence, they deny your adjustment of status. So if that's the situation, we can still question or appeal the I-130 or reapply the I-130, especially kung kayo pa rin ng asawa mo, di ba? So we have to fight that na hindi to marriage fraud, right? But if, for example, you have a new spouse now, right? And then yung prior marriage mo was really a for convenience, then look for other options. Let's say you've been here for 10 years. There's what we call cancellation of removal, right? And then your present spouse and present family would suffer extreme, exceptional, unusual hardship. Pwedeng i-apply po sa inyo yan. Hindi lang yan. So let's say you don't have any family member at all, di ba? So paano ngayon yan, attorney, TNP, wala akong relief, but looking at your history, meron pala kayong you were former member of a group na tinatarget ng mga bad elements sa Pilipinas because of your social, political organization or even religious group. Di ba? You're being targeted and now you fear of going back to your home country, right? What we call asylum. Pwede rin yun. As a defensive asylum, it's not something that you just give up, right? Na wala akong relief without consulting an attorney. Wala akong kamag-anak attorney, wala na. That's the end of it. That's why it's really important to sit down an attorney, because there might be a lot of options for you, right, to defend you in court. Kasi may mga available relief. Aside from those already discussed, whether were you ever a victim of crime? Or were you trafficked here, you came here as an H-2B, supposedly worked in a resort in Florida, but you ended up working as a caregiver or caring for a sick parent of whoever brought you here. So whether traffic kayo, or or a victim of crime. So you really have to explore other options. So that's one way of getting out from the immigration court. And remember mga kababayan, we are now pag ilang years na tayo kay Biden administration, where probably if your case is clean, right, ibig sabihin wala kayong fraud, wala kayong crimes, and the only violation you have, let's say they put you in removal proceeding, was because nag-overstay kayo o may nag-report sa inyo, di ba, na nagtatrabaho kayo, and then the immigration sent you a notice to appear, right? That's what we call prosecutorial discretion, right? It's the discretion of the Immigration Custom Enforcement to prosecute you. Ito yung tinatawag, can we just request the government to close the case, right, or dismiss the case? Dahil hindi naman ito priority. Kumbaga, under Biden's administration, mga kababayan, nilaan nila kung ano yung mga priority for removal, kasi masyadong overburdened ang immigration court natin, di ba? Instead of you part of the numbers of cases, millions of cases pending with immigration court, pwede bang i-close na natin yan o i-dismiss na natin yan? Yeah, but again, that's not the end of it. Kaya it's really important, to discuss your case to an immigration attorney, because mga kababayan, if you fail to appear before the immigration judge and there's no proof that you did not receive it, let's say pinadala na sila sa iyo, natanggap nila, bumalik sa kanila yung return receipt, right, na it was accepted, it was properly delivered, then the judge can order what we call like in absentia order of removal. So masaklap po yan kung mayroon po kayong removal order, para kang fugitive, di ba, na mas masahol yun doon sa nag-overstay ka lang dahil wala kang violation, right? 10 years ka na nag-overstay, wala nangyayari sa iyo. But once you have this removal order, right, that you did not comply in absentia, then you are considered as a fugitive. Kung binabanggit natin kanina, Kuya Johan, na may mga rights po kayo, di ba, under immigration court. Once you have an order of removal, na you failed to go to your hearing, then after they find you, ICE finds you and arrested you, put you in a prison or immigration hold, wala ka ng right to an attorney unless you reopen the case, which is more difficult kasi nasa kulungan ka all throughout, right? So ang masaklap pa niyan, kung may passport po kayo, or they contact the embassy right away and give you what do you call this, like a travel document, then they can send back to your home country the soonest available flight. So yun po ang masaklap pag magkaroon po kayo ng order of removal. So take care and don't ignore ang mga notices, especially coming from immigration courts.
Tama yan, because deportation really is serious. Kaya mga kababayan, ang inyong mga lawyer or ang inyong representation should be serious also. So attorney, mabigyan natin ng tips ang ating mga kababayan when they're in this situation, they go out and flip out their phone or their Google and they try to look for an attorney to represent them. What should be the process? Ano yung dapat hinahanap nila sa isang magre-represent para sa kanila sa ganitong klaseng removal proceedings?
Yes, Kuya Johan, it's something like, people who understand your case, that's number one. People who, immigration lawyers basically, who specializes in removal, who does a lot of removal defense, right? A lot of lawyers have the general practice, right? They do family court, they do bankruptcy, some immigration, physical injuries. Okay lang po yung kung mga simple cases. But in a removal deportation where your life, your liberty, your family, is at stake, don't short sell yourselves, right? Please understand that this process, removal proceeding is a very complicated case. May mga cases kami, Kuya Johan, where they come to us after the what do you call this, the order of removal. Kumbaga talo na sila sa court, right, or talo na sila sa appeal. I wish that they came to us earlier because there might be some other remedies or other relief, or it could have been done differently. Kasi mahirap, Kuya Johan, once the judge ordered you remove, right, mahirap yung sa appeal stage. Usually kasi, once you appeal a case, very, very seldom that the appellate court, yung Board of Immigration Appeals or the Ninth Circuit Court would overturn the decision. Although may mga cases din kami na overturn because of change of law, change of circumstances, but once the judge really decide the case, right, unless there is a change of law, mahirap mo nang i-overturn yan. So yun ang mga advice natin sa kababayan natin. And plus, don't do it yourself kung nasa immigration removal na po kayo. Yung mga pagpa-file ng citizenship or pagpa-file ng 751 or work authorization, probably they're easier. But once you're in removal proceedings, you have to hire an attorney or immigration lawyer.
Can the family member attorney of anyone who's in removal proceedings help them, in say contacting the lawyer, or baka kasi matanda na or hindi computer savvy, hindi kaagad makahanap. Can anybody help the person who's in this situation?
Definitely, Kuya Johan, the more actually the better kasi especially kahit tinatagalog na natin minsan, right? May mga kababayan tayo na siyempre either because of mental condition or because of trauma or because of old age, minsan hindi rin naintindihan ng gusto, di ba? So mas mabuti may mag-explain sa kanila kung ano yung expectations, kung ano yung in-explain ng abogado. Plus also if you have family members here, di ba, who would also help you financially, di ba? Kung may mga anak po kayo, may mga kapatid kayo, malaking tulong din yan. Especially ang removal defense is not hindi to mura, it's not too expensive, but it's also like compared to other kind of applications, it's more expensive than the rest.
Okay. All right. Alam mo, attorney, when we told our friends that itong pag-uusapan natin, I'm sure maraming silang mga gustong itanong. So, mga kaibigan, if you have questions or other situations na gustong iparating kay Attorney Diza, mangyari lamang po na i-comment sa baba ng post na ito. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can do that there. If you are listening to us on our podcast editions, maraming salamat po. Padala po kayo ng email sa amin, info@phlvradio.com. And we'll make sure na makakarating po kay Attorney Diza ang mga questions ninyo. Attorney, as usual, napakaganda lang ating pinag-usapan, and hindi lang ito mainit, talagang naglalagablab, talagang napaka-controversial issue, and magandang nabigyan natin ng guidance ang ating mga kababayan. And speaking of reaching out to our lawyers and legal representation, Attorney, baka meron po kayong mga announcements regarding Reeves Immigration Law Group, especially yung bagong address natin, Attorney.
Yes, ang Reeves Immigration Law Group, as we mentioned, has been in the practice for over 40 years now, right? We specialize in immigration only. Our firm, I personally represent clients before removal or deportation proceedings. Some clients know us from social media, from radio, from Facebook. They specifically request a Filipino lawyer. That's why, mga kababayan, you see me in Alaska, in Hawaii, you see me everywhere in the United States, just because ang immigration po is a federal practice. So we represent people all throughout the 50 states and all the territories and the embassies worldwide. Sa mga removal defense naman, talagang pinupuntahan namin in person just to represent clients. Utah, meron din pala. So anyway, yun po ang ating practice, at ang aming opisina po sa San Francisco ay lilipat na, no? Take note of our new office address. Nasa Facebook page po namin yan. We are still located in the financial district of San Francisco. It's now at 425 California Street, Suite 1250, San Francisco, California. The zip code is 94104. So ito po yung California Street, doon po dumadaan, isa pa din dadaanan ng cable car. So every few minutes makikita po ninyo ang cable car, lalo na bago kayo sa San Francisco, you love to see the cable car passing the California Street. So dyan po kami effective October, lilipat na ang aming opisina. So watch out for it and visit us at our new office Maraming salamat, Kuya Johan.
Nako, tama. Nakita ko nga doon sa pinost nyo, attorney, and you showed the new building and then may dumadaang cable car. Wow. Ang ganda. So, makabisita nga sa Reeves Immigration Law Group sa office nila sa San Francisco, California. But the phone numbers will remain the same, attorney, ano?
The phone numbers, the email, the website, the social media accounts remain the same, Kuya Johan. Ang nabago lang yung physical address po natin.
That's right. And nakikita nyo sa screen, mga kabigan, ang number ni Attorney Diza, and that's in San Francisco, California. Before I let you go, Attorney, baka meron pa kayong ibang takeaway sa ating mga kababayan before we go.
Yes, maraming salamat ulit, Kuya Johan. At sa mga kababayan natin, malapit ang Pasko, right? Yung mga wala pang status or wala pang green card, call us at 415-568-3777. Discuss your immigration journey in the United States. Discuss your immigration concerns to one of our lawyers here at Reeves Immigration Law Group. As we mentioned, all the partners are certified ng Immigration California State Bar as Immigration Law Specialists. And again, alam natin din na si Biden ay hindi masyadong stricto sa immigration kagaya ng prior administration, pero nakikita natin wala ring immigration reform. So that's kind of frustration sa atin, immigration advocates and immigration lawyers, but there are other ways to legalize your status. That's why it's really important to call us here at Reeves Immigration Law Group. Again, maraming salamat, Kuya Johan, at sa PHLV Radio, sa lahat ng mga viewers at listeners natin. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Nako, maraming salamat, Attorney Diza. As usual, we value your information and your presence here at the program Immigration Law on Your Side right here at PHLV Radio. And if you're watching us on the premiere broadcast or streaming of this program, maraming salamat po. Yung mga nanood sa ating mga on-demand platforms that you can forever watch sa iba't ibang mga platforms katulad ng Apple Podcast and of course sa Spotify and iHeartRadio. You can download it and put it on your phone, and anytime you can listen to any of the episodes that we've been doing for many years na, and as we've been supported by Reeves Immigration Law Group. Again, Attorney, maraming salamat, and sa ating mga kababayan na nakatutok sa atin sa PHLV Radio, we will see you next time right here and only here on Immigration Law on Your Side on PHLV Radio. We'll see you next time.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees, even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.